Hi, this is Ev Hales demonstrating a still water painting of the Mount Beauty Pondage. The photograph that inspired this session is from Alison. Working with the Watercolour Society group, we have some great times, and it's a way to keep the connections for those of the members who live at a distance. Check out the Facebook page to find out more. I'm painting this piece on a hot press surface because I want the colours to granulate. It is most important to pre-dampen the paper when you want to work a soft sky in hot press. The top was dampened with a brush and the bottom I'm just using a spray because in the reflection it doesn't matter quite so much to have it perfectly smooth. Just dampening through here. I'm using a double-loaded brush with some cerulean and blue and also some purple, as there are some quite lovely colours in the foreground of this water area. And I keep adding depth here. It's a cool morning, so nothing is drying fast today. The brush is being quite recalcitrant, with one section deciding to go in a completely different direction to the rest of the brush. I just keep adding more depth in this foreground area so I don't have to come back at a later stage. If I can finish this part of the painting at this early stage, I can really just forget about it. The colours in this part of Victoria at this time of year are quite glorious with the autumn hues, and water always is an opportunity for some magical colours. This paper is still damp, and because I'm working quite spontaneously here and I'm just really working on the desk, so I haven't got my usual kit out, and so there's a few little splurts that are going in the wrong places. And I use a clean brush. I can readily get rid of those unhappy accidents without causing too much problems, but I would not leave it until the paper is dry to do that. And I would also always make sure my brush is very dry and not going to add more water into an almost dry section. This part of the painting is just grasses and rocks under the water, which I can drop in while that paint is still damp, and I will have a softer effect. Normally I would just cover the top of the painting to stop those little bits going in the wrong spots. But time is of the essence this morning. I don't need to draw this landscape. I'm just putting the colours in. And you can see the kind of marks that are being made. The paper is just a little damp, so there's not too much water on the brush. I will encourage it to run a bit later, but not just yet. I want some layering in the hills, and so I'm just adding a little bit of water to this very soft colour to indicate the background layer of mountains. Already I'm thinking about the reflection. Because the paper is still slightly damp, I can actually just lightly brush off and create a slightly softer edge in that reflection. I'm now introducing a little more water here because I want these colours to flow a little bit more. There's a complexity to the colour in this section of foliage, and it's always a problem in the Australian bush to get a sense of what colour it actually is. Is it brown? Is it green? Is it blue? Rarely is there a straight answer to that question, and so I tend to drop in a few different colours, and sometimes I'll even come back later and glaze over to get the sort of colour that I actually want. But for now, I just want it as a darker section, and I'm using a little bit of the purple. The colours in this part of the country at this time of year in autumn are quite stunning. Lots of blues, lots of bright yellows, lots of oranges. It's very almost chocolate boxy on occasions, but quite beautiful. And so I'm choosing to amplify that aspect of the scene here. Don't panic if you get a dribble. We do, after all, want a bit of a reflection. So I'll just stop that from running straight down, but not stop it altogether. Leaving some of these little white spots here will almost indicate the buildings in the town on the edge of the pondage, without me having to make any really strong statement about that. The slightly uneven wetness in the water is allowing for some softness of edge, which is quite nice in the reflection, and a contrast to the sharpness of the edge against the sky. I do have to be careful here though that my brush is not too wet, otherwise I will create dribbles that I don't want and that cause me much aggravation. So monitoring that wetness is quite important. a few little punchy darks now for some of the cypress type trees. And you'll notice how I change the kind of marks I'm making with the brush through this part of the painting. And I'm reflecting above and below the waterline so that I deal with the reflections at the same time. Just reinforcing the water line and using my little finger to steady my hand against the dry sky. This is just calligraphic marks that I am making in this part of the painting. I just want to soften that edge in the reflection a little. The brush is almost dry and it's just taking away that harsh line. A little bit of housekeeping, just picking up that excess. And now a little bit more detail in the foreground, which has all of a sudden become too light for the rest of the landscape. And so I need to come back and add a little bit more here. Rolling the brush in my hand so I get an unequal result. It's not a dab, dab, dab type brush mark that I'm looking for here. I now just want to reinforce the surface of the water through the reflection by just lifting off a section with my stiff Taklon brush and creating a sense of the level of the lake or the pondage. And this is a mechanism that you can break through a really definite reflection and make something a little bit more interesting. This is the first section of an hour painting segment, and I think I've almost got my initial response to this subject. This is where the painting, the photograph started and gradually morphed into the painting. I will stand and look at it and see whether the balance is right before I add anything else. But if you enjoyed this demonstration, check out my Ev Hales tuition website, where you will find ebooks. And Painting Still Water is the fourth in my ebook series that you will find instructive for this kind of imagery. And don't forget to check out the Watercolour Society of Victoria on Facebook. And if you want to join in such sessions, you could become a member and be involved via Zoom. Thanks for watching.